Hey all, and welcome back. Today I just want to talk about process. I want to do a very quick and efficient walkthrough of how I set up my workspace, how I progress through a painting, step 1, 2, 3, 4, and what I do with layers in that process, and just some of the basics. I had a really good artist talk to me today on Instagram, someone I know in real life as well, and who is just doing killer work. All of the work that he's done up to this point has been charcoal, graphite, oil painting, acrylic, watercolor, and he's great at all of it. He's just a truly fantastic artist. Well, tried digital painting for the first time, ran into some hurdles, and I thought, if he's running into these hurdles, I bet a lot of people are. So let me just give you a couple tips to get started. So this is using Photoshop, just some tips and tricks. First thing, real quick, workspace. Let's go window, workspace, and then let's change it to painting. This is going to give you just basically 3 palettes. You've got a simplified toolbar here, and then you've got color, your navigator's hiding there, color, brushes, and layers. That's really all you need. And then when you create a new layer, you're going to go File, New. You can do some, I always keep my resolution around 300, so it's kind of flexibility with printing. I always also choose a size that's really easy to print for, so that you can find frames, stuff like that, so you don't have to go build something custom to mount or frame the work. 12 by 18, 11 by 14, 20 by 30, stuff like that. So there's that. You create, good to go. I already have this canvas up, and I just want to show you kind of how I would take my first step. My first step is always the line work. And being a painter, my line work is usually a lot messier than someone who's got more of a drawing background or someone with more of an illustration background. I prefer to let the edges and the form emerge through the paint application, as opposed to sort of creating like a coloring book that I'm just filling in. Both ways work, but that's kind of where I land in the sort of the continuum of workflow. About these brushes though, you can see the brushes I have here are not the default Photoshop brushes. What I often do is go to this place called ArtStation. An amazing resource. Tons of inspiration, tons of artists, very heavy on professional level people working in games, movies, television, just kind of entertainment oriented artists, commercial oriented artists, fantastic artists, illustrators, painters, everything, concept artists. Anyway, I just clicked here, search brushes, found these. I mean, like Sparth, like what the heck, this guy, amazing. You can look at this great work, and then you can see the brushes that are on offer there. These brushes look great, super cool illustration, love that. These brushes I have, they're wonderful. Definitely would suggest checking those out. And these are my new favorites right here, just because they feel so much like traditional oil paint. That's my background. These brushes speak to me almost on a spiritual level, because that's when I paint with them, I feel like I'm just sitting in I can almost smell the turpentine, It feels very at home. So that's where I get my brushes, just download them, and then how you load them up, just click here on this little hamburger menu. Replace brushes will get rid of the default and just put the new brush set in its place. Load brushes will stack the new brushes at the bottom of the stack, so you'll have the default plus the new ones. And then I just kind of get busy sketching stuff out. In my case, I don't really even use a small brush, I just kind of go big. And after I'm done with that, I'll do the local color, just color blocking. In this case, this imaginative painting, I don't really know what I'm doing with it yet, so it's a lot of seeking, trying to find palettes, temperatures, value most of all, so important, and then just kind of figure out where I'm going. This is sort of like a cooking show where I've saved everything in steps, so just kind of lock this in your mind. Everything's kind of foggy, misty, sketchy, just sorting it out. And then step 2 looks like this. Big changes. I decided to rotate the canvas. I decided to expand the canvas. So here I just went to canvas size. I pinned the bottom and I expanded it on its height so it would be a little taller. I think that looks a little nicer for what I'm trying to do. So I'm zooming in with Control Plus, holding the space bar to grab the canvas so I can move it around. And you can see that the piece is really starting to develop. I included this concept of water and light, and I just like the I like where that's going. I think that's got some potential. Using really big brushes, this is still the color blocking phase, looking for local color, trying to make sure my values are making sense with the light source and the light direction, etc. Looking at color temperature everywhere, and just starting to put in these warm reflections of lights, and just starting to have a lot of fun with it. So this is a really cool step of the process, because it's very free, very open. Everything can be textural and loose, but you're starting to see it. You can kind of see where it's going. Something else I should say is this dock. So you can pull the work off or onto that dock, and you can also go to Window, Arrange, and if you've got multiple windows up, so say you've got a reference picture plus your canvas, you can go 2 up vertical, 2 up horizontal, whatever. So there's a lot of different ways to arrange it. If you full screen it, you can always tag out of it with that. In this case, I'm just going to nest it on that little shelf, and zooming in with Control plus minus, and then you can see the whole frame by pressing Control 0. So that's kind of how that works. And then if I can go File, Open Recent, and I can pull open kind of where I'm at the moment, you can start to see what I guess the next phase of the drawing is. The first phase is the line work, which I call the mapping. Second phase is the value, establishing the value, which I call the blocking. And then the third phase, I just call it the refinement phase, where you start to deal with edges, you start to deal with the nuance of color, temperature, and value, you start to deal with the textural qualities, and make really serious choices about what this picture is going to feel like. And I'll do all of that and then finish with one final step, which I guess you could do these all as separate layers. And that last step is like an effects layer, where you can use overlays and different transfer modes to create exaggerations of highlights without having to do repainting. You can do effectively like do glazing and different sorts of emphasis on your piece, or color grading, just based on that new layer. So you don't have to do any new painting. It's just about pushing and pulling value, pushing and pulling temperature, pushing and pulling the color palette, emphasizing things here or there, and I'll call that the effects layer. And I'll do a whole demo on that in the future, but basically I got 4 layers: line layer, color blocking, then I'll sometimes duplicate that to do my refinement, and then I'll finish off with an effects layer. Now you could do those as 4 layers, or you can do it all as 1 layer. I very often will do it all as 1 layer, and I guess the other half of the time, it's almost 50-50, I'll do it as separate layers. It's helpful from an instructional standpoint to do it as separate layers, but as you work in, just do whatever you're comfortable with. So here you can see this picture's kind of coming along, and I haven't decided yet what I'm gonna do with respect to the blending. I'm tempted to leave the face similar to this, not really smooth it out, but let it be kind of chunky and textural in some spots, let the brushwork and mark making still live. And then for the remainder of it, I'm tempted to leave it a lot more loose and almost like with this dry brush technique. But yeah, I'm exploring what it looks like if I smooth it out. So this is just kind of decision time, and then after this I would do some special effects stuff to really make the colors and the highlights and the shadows pop. But that's my process. Trying to think if there's anything else. I know they're not painting tools, but I often like to use the dodge and burn tools at the end of a painting, and I think that's about it. So hopefully that gives you a little step in the right direction for workspace, going window, workspace, painting, get everything set up like that, getting a new set of brushes in there, going maybe to ArtStation, DeviantArt, wherever, going to some blogs of some artists you love, getting their brushes. If they have brushes for sale, buy those, support the artists, that you're using their stuff, and they're super cool to share what they got for free. So if you like what they have, it's kind of cool to kick them a couple bucks and do a donation or whatever. And then after that, we just kind of talk about painting process, where you have line layer, and then blocking layer, and then your refinement layer, and then like an effects layer. So that's that. Hopefully it's helpful, you guys. And for all you new digital artists out there, keep at it. Get some fun brushes. Talk to the people who've been doing it for a while. There are a lot of us traditional artists that are new to the game too, and relatively, and have a lot to share. There's some of us who've been doing it for a while now, and maybe have a little bit more to share. So I think just the more we share, the more we all grow, and the faster we can all get better at this, and push each other some more to be better artists, which is the goal. So thanks again for checking it out. Thank you to all of you who have commented, subscribed, talked to me on Instagram, talked to me on YouTube. It's a real inspiration. I'm learning a ton every day because of all this interaction, and getting inspired by your paintings, and finding your YouTube channels that I can watch, and finding other YouTube channels because of you. And it's been a really exciting time, a lot of growth, and I love that. So of course I love that. It's amazing. I can't thank you all enough. So take care. Have an awesome night. Keep swinging that brush, as my mentor always told me.